So there we go. There we go. Okay, I think I know folks, but I always don't want to assume, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Rosa Miami, Director of Engagement and Membership at AGU, and this is the monthly section leader call, where section leaders and whoever you invite, like members of your executive committee and others who you might want to invite based on the agenda, they're all welcome. So hello. We have a packed agenda. Forgive me in advance if I cut folks off. And hopefully there's some timely information here that will be helpful as you're planning today and over the next few weeks through the end of the year. So why don't we go to the first slide or the agenda slide? Okay, so again, thanks for joining us. I know everyone's really, no joke, very busy today in particular. So Josh and I are going to do a couple of quick updates around the section event planning form and section financials. We've got Suzanne here from the meetings team who's going to give some updates around AGU 25 and abstracts. As you know, the deadline is today. We're going to talk about a policy update with Liz Landau, a little bit on travel grants. And as you know, if you've been joining over the last few months, we've kind of gotten into this new format of putting you all into breakouts to discuss a question. And the question is here. How are sections supporting participation in AGU 25 this year? And then you come back out of the breakout and report out. So let's see how much we can get through. Really appreciate it. So let's keep going. All right, so congratulations. All of the sections have completed their AGU 25 planning form, which helps us talk to each other about what your goals are for the annual meeting. So we've got a lot of great information. There's going to be phase 2 that's coming up where there's food and beverage, AV planning, maybe some space planning and Josh can talk to you about that as needed, like one-on-one in some conversations. A communication was sent out by Josh earlier this week. If you didn't get that email, because it's pretty important, reach out to Josh using this generic AGU-section help@agu.org. We're going to need info from you by the 12th of August. Also, we have a new cool thing that the meetings team gave us that we're not going to go through here because there's not a lot of time, but there's a food and beverage estimator that will help you with cost. Josh can actually run through it with you one-on-one if needed, but this is going to be available, I think, Josh, in upcoming communications. So I know this is something you all have asked for, or some form of this in the past. So hopefully, and I think Debbie, you may be on the call who got this for us. So kudos to you. Thank you. So let's go to the next slide where Josh is going to talk about financials.
Hello, everyone. I'm aiming to get your financial reports out to you by next week. Was hoping to do it this week, but with abstracts today, I think I'm not going to have enough time to get those properly prepared for you. Again, they're stored in your sections, executive committee discussion, libraries, and Connect. And this report will have an extra page onto it. We're including the list of transactions, which is an itemized list of the charges to your account, which I know many of you have asked for. So we're able to get those for you this year. Once those go out, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Now why don't we go to, I think, something that everyone wants to hear about. We've got a few more updates around AGU 25, especially how sections can kind of have a presence on site. And so Suzanne's going to talk about it. Before she starts, I do want to remind folks that Josh and me as well, if needed, are available for one-on-one kind of consultation if you want to do like a conference call to really go over your strategic or even logistical goals around what you're doing at AGU 25 and can talk more broadly than what's here, but want to give you where we're at this point in time. Because it is a tight program here today, I am going to ask that if you do have questions, put them in the chat, and we're going to try and answer things in the chat as much as we can, but also, try and find a little time for speaking up here. So Suzanne, with that long intro, why don't you get going? Thanks.
Thank you, Rosa. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Davison, Director of Meetings. And as you all know, as Rosa said, today is the abstract deadline. As you can imagine, we have staff who are very busy in the background, working with all the submitters. We get about 80% of the submissions the last 2 days. So it's been extremely busy here at AGU. If you've missed the town hall deadline, we've had a few requests for town halls, but if you do miss, if you've missed the town hall deadline, we're recommending to submit through the Science Exchange session, which is available today. The deadline is today, so just a reminder to submit through that session format. And just to kind of give an overview, the Science Exchange is a new flexible way to share your experiences, challenges, ideas that might not fit in the traditional research abstract. It can be an individual presentation or a panel. Both are welcome. The named lectures, just a reminder, for those sections with one or more named lectures, please inform the honors team as soon as possible with your selection. Once they have completed their disclosures, the AGU meetings team will reach out to the lecturer and provide specific instructions on how to submit their abstract. And this will take place after the abstract submission deadline. As a reminder, section leadership should work with the respective program committee reps to develop the agenda for the lecture, and we are requesting that this be completed with the program by the program committee, which is in September, which is September 3rd and 5th. The other thing, just as a reminder, please note that the AGU 25 lectures can present in person, or if participating online, they will be required to pre-record their presentations. Online presenters cannot join the session live or participate in the Q&A. So these are just reminders around the scientific program side. Next slide, Josh. And just to kind of help guide you, with your committee and business meetings, we have provided you some offerings. We've mentioned, doing the virtual meetings either before or after the annual meeting. And then we've also given some opportunities on site where you would have to reserve your presentation space on site. Reserve your meeting space on site. And we have some opportunities. We have the 3 networking lounges, we have the 6 small pods, and we have 1 small meeting room that has a capacity of 10, but I know there's some that are a little larger, so we've added another room, a conference room that will have a capacity for 25. So these are all through the reservation system, which we will open later in the fall. Just once everything has, everybody's received their acceptance letters, we will open these reservation systems. And then just a reminder, business lectures, we've recommended using your named lecture as the opportunity to incorporate the business meeting during your named lecture. We just want to make sure though, as you're scheduling your named lecture, that you are working with your program committee rep to work on that agenda. So we know the agenda for that named lecture. Next slide. And then here's just some more opportunities. These are some new initiatives that we've been working on, but there are more opportunities for engagement throughout the week of the meeting. And, we wanted to just kind of highlight some of these for you today. We have the new AGU Central area, which is going to be located in the exhibit hall. This is going to be a one-stop hub for career development, publishing guidance, and policy advocacy. This is going to be a great area. There's going to be a lot of focus in that area. So, just take advantage of that location. And then again, I mentioned the large networking areas where we're going to have lounges and pods to reserve throughout the week. Reservations are required. It's mixed seating. Pods will have a digital screen. The lounges will not have any type of AV, but the pods will. So if if you want to present, you can plug your laptop into the digital screen and for a small group presentation. And then we've also enhanced the poster in the poster hall, the parks. If many of you remember, we had these kind of like little lounge area seating that we created that we call the parks. And we are going to locate a park in each scientific neighborhood. That way, this gives you another networking opportunity to meet up with your colleagues, your peers, just to make it easier for you to find each other. There is no reservation required. It's mixed seating. We're going to put some charging areas in there. And we're also putting the poster viewing gallery. An additional new initiative is the Hub and Spoke. AGU is launching a Hub and Spoke model for its annual meeting. This is enabling colleges, universities, faith-based organizations, and private companies to serve as a hub. These are still being worked on. We are looking at launching this at the end of August, so there will be more details to come. So there's lots going on, and I know there's probably lots of questions. Our team is here to help you, just like Rosa's team is, and we work closely together. So if anything comes up, you can reach out to Rosa, she'll reach out to me, or vice versa. So thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. I think there's maybe a couple of minutes for a few questions, and since you were presenting, I'm picking out a few things from the chat to read here.
Yeah.
Lisa is asking if we can book any of these rooms or pods early, before abstract acceptances.
So we're discussing that, so I will get back to you on that. We know that, especially for sections, there's an advantage of, being able to reserve these before the all attendees can get in there to reserve. So we're talking about, what that opening date will be. But I appreciate your feedback, and, that kind of helps us to, guide us in that decision for the timeline.
Okay, great. Let's see. Some people are applying for funding to go to AGU 25 or ask me what the registration fee will be.
That will be coming out
Yes.
very soon. So again, we're gearing up all the registration, lots of new initiatives. So that will be coming in August as well.
Yeah. Steve, you want to elaborate on your question? Yeah.
The advice I gave was it won't be less than last year. Was that fair?
Right. It will not be less than last year. So.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? And maybe Suzanne, you can look at the other questions while we move on, but any other raised hands here? Anyone want to jump in? We're going to continue in each of these monthly calls. We'll always have an update on AGU 25, and it'll probably be a larger update as we get closer to December. But as Suzanne said, keep reaching out to us with your questions. I know some things may feel a little murky in terms of how to work some things through with the annual meeting. So we're glad to have kind of customized conversations in case that is more helpful. Okay, all right. Why don't we have Liz from our government relations team come and speak. One of the reasons we've asked Liz to kind of give us an update on what's happening with Meet the Moment resources is that we've noticed, especially lately, which is great, a spate of content coming to us from your section newsletters that we've been publishing, including a lot of information about Meet the Moment. And we want to make sure you have the most updated information. And I think there's a few new things that Liz can tell you about too as you're talking to sections. So Liz, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Rosa. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Landau. I'm a Director of Science Policy and Government Relations at AGU. And I'm here to provide an overview of current policy, environment, and concerns related to AGU Sciences, the things that AGU is currently working on to help meet the moment for a number of these issues, how you can be involved, and resources that you can share with your sections and other colleagues. And I will apologize that this is going to be very US focused for the most part, especially the policy updates. Due to the level of dismantling of the scientific enterprise that's happening in the US right now. There's a lot to talk about, but I will have a global opportunity at the end. So please stay tuned for that if you're not US based. Next slide, please. So I wanted to start out with, excuse me, some policy changes and funding updates. So things that we're seeing and kind of where we are at the moment. So certainly the cuts to federal scientific workforce, indiscriminate, and are really an issue for a number of scientists in the US right now. AGU has been a plaintiff in 2 lawsuits against the Trump administration to help try and fight these policies. Also, the recent president's budget request that came out for the coming fiscal year is incredibly concerning for science, including things like a 50% cut to the National Science Foundation. And AGU is actively fighting against these cuts. And I have some ways that you all can get involved later on if you're interested in being part of that. In addition, the House and Senate are working on their appropriations bills, so essentially the funding bills that will fund the government for the fiscal year 2026, which is starting in just a couple of months. And we are working actively with House and Senate to ensure that those numbers are as positive for science as they possibly can be, and then we're not seeing these numbers from the president's budget request become law. And then, of course, there are the budget reconciliation bills that more of those are coming. And some of those may impact science even after appropriations bills are passed. But we are ready and prepared to take on that issue as it comes up. And we do need your help from the community to have a bigger impact for those of you who are ready and willing to be part of this. So next slide, please. One of our next big hurdles is that appropriations, which is essentially the government funding for programs like National Science Foundation, USGS, NASA, NOAA, and more. All of that is still in process right now. As you can see, there are essentially only a handful of these bills that have been started. Many of them have not been started, and none of them have been finished. Now, there are only about 4 weeks of legislative time left before the end of the fiscal year. And so there's not a lot of time for Congress to finish these bills. And so we're watching very closely about what will happen next, if we're potentially going to have a government shutdown, which could cause even more issues for the scientific enterprise, or if we're able to get a continuing resolution or otherwise decent amounts of science funding going forward. So this is a critical issue that we're working on right now. Next slide, please. I want to touch on actions that AGU has done to support science to date. So we have a number of things that we have done, from surveying members and sharing stories of impact with policymakers and others, to filing the 2 lawsuits that I mentioned, which are over the executive orders requiring federal agencies to conduct these large-scale reductions in force. We're collaborating with the American Meteorological Society on a special collection to maintain the research momentum supporting the US National Climate Assessment, even when the government is not. And we have things like the EOS Research and Development blog for brief updates that provide a lot of context and information about new law and policy changes that impact science and scientists today. In addition, we have extended deadlines and have waivers of fees for a number of members who are impacted by these issues that are happening, who have lost jobs or funding. If I'm sure that all of you have seen that information, but that's something that's important to share with your sections. Okay, next slide, please. So I've talked a bit about what AGU has done, but the scientific community has been a huge part of this and has really been speaking up for science this year. We're just sharing some of the work that the AGU community has done to support science. In particular, we have had a number of AGU days of action throughout the year, starting in April, when we had over 100 congressional meetings that were requested during that April congressional recess so that scientists could talk with policymakers about the value of science. Then in June, we had a congressional visits day here in Washington, D.C., and we had almost 100 scientists come out to that. We had 127 Hill meetings where those scientists were able to talk to policymakers specifically about the impacts of these cuts to science funding and science jobs and how this has impacted communities back home. We also had an online component to this where people who are still back in their home districts could call in, and we had over 350 emails and over 80 phone calls in support of the same issues. Now we're coming up in August for additional days of action. And so those of you who are based in the US or who still vote in the US but may live abroad can take part in this by having meetings in August. And I'll talk a little bit about the opportunity that's coming up there. But we encourage all of you to be part of this if you can. It's incredibly impactful to have scientists and the scientific community talking about how these cuts to science are truly affecting communities back home. Next slide, please. So one of the reasons that we think it's really important for scientists like you to get involved and to encourage your section members who are willing to get involved as well is that these local priorities are so important to policymakers. Science is often missing from these conversations. If scientists like yourselves aren't speaking up about the value of science, it isn't necessarily part of the bigger picture that these policymakers are thinking about. And so it may get left out or left behind. So this is truly a great opportunity for us to take advantage of this. Next slide, please. So what are the opportunities here? You can schedule a visit with your member of Congress in their district office back home. You can invite them to visit your lab or field site or your institution. It's a wonderful opportunity to showcase what you are able to achieve doing your research at your institution by having them come out and see it firsthand. You can also attend a town hall or a virtual town hall event to speak up, ask questions, ask them about their position on science, and encourage them to support science going forward. Another opportunity is to publish an op-ed or letter to the editor. And this can call out a particular policymaker, which makes it something that they will see. And it can also be informational for your community. So those in your community who read that media can see the impact of science cuts. Next slide, please. So I've just skimmed over the very top of these opportunities to be able to fit into our packed agenda today, but we have a lot of resources to help you out. So if any of these sound intriguing at all, we are sharing information with Josh and Rosa to get out to all of you about how you and your sections can get more involved in these. And so we have all the information to help you contact these congressional offices. We have toolkits to help you figure out how to write and place an op-ed. And we're also just here and available to help you out as well. And I will put my email in the chat, and my colleague Lexi, who's the VP of Science Policy and Government Relations, has also been able to join us, and she will include her information as well. And you can reach out to any of us to get help with this.
Thanks.
Next slide, please.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rosa?
No, go ahead. I was gonna invite Lexi to jump on as well, but you finish up.
Okay, thanks, Rosa.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I do want to share just one more opportunity and then some resources. So you may have seen yesterday that the EPA is repealing the greenhouse gas endangerment finding. And this endangerment finding is a peer review of the global scientific literature of climate change impacts to public health and welfare. So soon there will be a window for comment on this, and legal challenges are very likely. AGU has been asked, and we want to be responsive. And so we are going to put out a statement of validity of the endangerment finding for wide sign-on. So the sign-on will be open globally to scientists who work in climate-related fields, or have expertise on the impacts that climate change has on communities. So we want to make this broad. And before we circulate this, we want feedback from you as our leaders. And so over the next couple of weeks, we'll be reaching out to you to ensure that we get your feedback and input on this. And we also would like to ensure that you are the first signers of this sign-on document. This is something that hopefully will have an impact and will also be able to bring the scientific community together around this critical issue. So if anyone has additional questions, Lexi is the point person for this. She's working on this project and we'll be able to answer those. Next slide, please. We'll be sharing these resources with you after the call, and these are things that you can share with your sections and your colleagues. There's a lot of information updates coming out from AGU right now. We have resources specifically for members who've been impacted by recent issues with government cuts. And there are a number of ways to take action as well. So you'll have links and you'll be able to share these widely. If you have questions about any of these, please do let us know. Next slide, please, which is my last one. We do want to be in touch with you. We are here to help you and we welcome you reaching out to us with questions. With everything happening and the legislation moving rather quickly these days, you may get emails from us asking for various input, and we would love it if you would respond to us. If you're uncertain or have questions, you're also welcome to let us know that, and we can work with you. And if you see bills that are good or bad for your community, please do let us know. We're always looking for these, but with the volume that comes through, we're not always the first to find them. And like we said, we do work with a number of sections and we want to work with more of you as well. So this is just me saying we have an open channel for communication. Okay, and with that, that's everything I have. Rosa, I don't know if we have time for questions or for Lexi to pop on, but I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Liz. And there's some interesting things going on in chat that maybe Lexi has been looking at and wants to address, or do you want to jump on, Lexi?
Happy to, and hi, everyone. Part of the reason I was late is because we were also at the same time presenting to our dedicated group of advocates that we call our local science partners about everything that's happening and what they should be talking to representatives about. There's a few things that have come up. One thing I will say, Andy and Andy have been talking about the DOE report that just came out, and as Billy typed in the chat, there's a lot hitting all at once. There's a lot of denial of climate science that's going on. So we will definitely look at that. But one of the things I want to say, like Andy noted, a rumor that he's hearing, please, 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 if you hear stuff, think of us, think of Liz, think of me. We have both of our emails. You have the sciencepolicy@agu.org email, which the entire team looks at. Let us know, drop us a line of what you're hearing. Good, bad, or indifferent, because it is an actual tactic that's going on right now to flood the zone. We cannot be on top of everything. So, we are looking to you as allies. I do want to mention one thing, which is that the endangerment finding, the notice that it is being repealed, has now gone out. It is public. So we may accelerate the timeline a little bit for the statement we're circulating. The statement is really about the solidness, the validity of the science, underpinning the ideas that climate change is real. It is having impacts on public health and welfare, and that denying it does not change the underlying facts. So our intent is to circulate this globally. Our intent is for this to be open to anyone with expertise on climate science or their impacts on public health and welfare. So think more broadly than just climate scientists per se. And one of the things I want to do is I'm going to try to be reaching out to people that I think have a particular expertise in climate change amongst our leadership. But if you, one, want to be part of this, or two, want to recommend someone to be part of this, please drop me a note. We want this one, I want it fact checked. I want to make sure it's as accurate as possible. We're trying to keep it short and punchy because this is going to be a public document, but this is going to go into the official record as comments, and it's probably going to be used in the litigation, which there will be litigation against the repeal of the endangerment findings. So we are also looking for validators, people that you recognize their name, they're more likely to sign on. So if you can think of people like that as well, please let me know. So I just wanted to mention that. Rachel Abercrombie dropped a particular question in the chat. Liz, I don't know if you want to address this one. It's basically like some people are
Yeah.
getting cynical about whether it's worth keeping going. So
Yes, I was going to answer in the chat, so thank you for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, Rachel, this is a great question, and we're hearing a lot of this, where people are concerned that writing an email isn't going to make a difference, or following up multiple times isn't going to make a difference. And what's happening right now is there's so much happening, so much moving, so much at stake, so much that's being cut and taken away, that we really do need to be constantly talking to policymakers and telling them about the impacts that this is having and how critical it is to help resolve this and fix this. And there are so many people who are contacting their policymakers every single day over and over again. And if scientists and the scientific community is not doing that, then our voices are going to get drowned out. So it is truly critical to keep contacting and keep the drumbeat up. And the more that you are in touch with these offices as well, the more they're going to get to know you, and the more that they can trust you, and you can develop a relationship with them, which I know is hard to think about when it's such a dire circumstance. But it's really important to keep contacting these offices, and whether it's email or phone calls, at this point, there's no such thing as too often. It's something that's incredibly important to keep up regularly and constantly.
Anyone else want to jump in on this particular topic? Thanks so much, Lexi and Liz. This is such important work. It isn't business as usual in the world right now. So really, really appreciate Section and as volunteer leaders, your engagement in all of this. So please get in touch with us. All right, let's go to the next thing. Travel grants, something else that folks I think are finding important right now. So Ricky from our programs and grants area is going to talk a little bit about travel grants, and that's going to lead into the discussion question that we have for you all. So Ricky, take it away.
Thanks so much, Rosa. So hi, everyone. I'm Ricky Otley, Program Manager of Student Programs and Grants here at AGU. And like Rosa said, I'm going to give you an update on the AGU 25 travel grants. So right now, all of the AGU 25 travel grants that are administered by AGU are open. Those close August 13th. And while the criteria varies across these different grants, all recipients must be the first author and a presenter at AGU 25. Next slide, please. Okay, and then now we're going to look at the funding. So looking at the AGU 24 student travel grants, 73% of these grants were funded by the Austin Student Travel Endowment and the General Student Travel Grant. And these funding sources can award students in any section. 27% of the students were awarded by funds specific to a section. So you could see the sections down below here. And then additionally, AGU funded 10 Berkner Travel Fellows. These are student and early career researchers from low and lower middle income countries. And these researchers received an all expenses paid trip to the annual meeting. So, you know, we have a good number of travel grants. And as you can imagine, we receive quite a few applications. And as some of you might know, in past years, AGU has had each section do an external review of all eligible grant applications within their section. This was a really big volunteer lift, and unfortunately, we were never able to get 100% of our volunteers completing their assignments. That made it so some students weren't considered. And in fact, when we looked at the numbers, 10% of our students who had a high need weren't being reviewed and thus not being awarded. So with this in mind, for AGU 25, travel grants supported by AGU funds, so those top two funds, will not have external review. This way we can make sure that students who need a grant are not left out due to volunteer overwhelm. We've done this at other large meetings like WaterSciCon, and we found that external review is not necessarily needed to award students in need. Next slide. Thank you. However, if your section is contributing funds to support travel grants, we are more than happy to set up an external review committee process for you. So if you see your section name here and you still would like to have an external review committee for your grants, please reach out to me. I'll get that set up for you. I'll put my email in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or let me know.
Okay, there is one question in the chat from Stephen that GPE travel grant went to a non-GPE student. Is that possible?
It shouldn't be. So, essentially what we do is when students are applying, they're telling us what section they're in and what section they're presenting in. So that travel grant should have gone to a student who is presenting in a GPE session. But if you give me their name, I'm happy to look into it further.
Any
Ricky,
question?
Yeah,
Oh,
Ricky, do
go
you
ahead.
want to mention that the faculty travel award that's also open now? It has a different deadline than the student travel grants.
Yeah, so that grant is also open, it's funded differently than these grants, but this is a faculty travel grant for faculty members who are from 2-year or ERI institutions. So that travel grant is open through September 3rd, and it's available on our website as well. I see a question from Wendy. They hope to do a section travel grant program in addition to the AG1. How do we coordinate those who submit to AGU versus our section award? It can be difficult, right, when we're doing 2 separate travel grants. If you let me know the timeline for your travel grant, we can let you know, who's been awarded for the AGU travel grant to make sure that you're not double awarding a student unless that's something you're open to. But basically email me, let me know the timeline for your travel grants, and we can coordinate either way, where either you're sending us who won your travel grant or we're sending you who won the AGU funded travel grant.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks. I wanted to add something about the AGU faculty travel grant. So this is NSF funded. It's Billy and Ashante are taking the lead this time. Last year, it was a couple of us in the education section taking the lead. But one element that we're maintaining is that there is a review of the application. So part of it is automated with a rubric, but part of it does take some person power. And it was very valuable last year to have some people from other sections help with that review committee, because people have applied with interest areas across almost every section and committee emphasis within AGU, and we'd like to make sure there's representation in the review committee as broadly as possible. So if you are interested in helping doing that review, it won't take you long. Please, I'll put my email in the chat and let me know, and I'll help coordinate that. The review time will be very early September. Thanks.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, why don't there may be some more in the chat that maybe Ricky you can look at, but we're gonna move on to the discussion question and how that works. So why don't we bring up the slides, Josh? So if you were here before, kind of the same format, but this is the question. How are sections supporting participation in AGU 25 this year, meaning in terms of travel grants, caregiver grants, faculty, whatever, kind of in that kind of realm of discussion. So we're going to put you all into breakouts. You'll have about 10 minutes. You'll be brought back. Well, you all should pick someone who's going to report out to the group when you are brought back into the larger group here. So I think that's it for the instructions, right? So
Yep.
anything else on the next slide? Yeah, I wasn't sure there's another slide there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put you in your groups, and then we'll hear you on the other side in about 10 minutes.
Can I stay in the main room here to ask Ricky a question about the student travel grants?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Ricky, I just wanted to make sure I was following that correctly. So if our name, so the education section was on that slide, so you were saying that's separate from the central one. So we should be reviewing some applications, or were you saying that you'll be sending a list of applicants from our section for consideration for those student travel grants?
Sure, Laura. Happy to help with this. So essentially in the past, your section would have reviewed all of the applicants who had, submitted to your section in AGU travel grants. This year, for our two funds that support 73% of our travel grants, we're not going to conduct external review. However, since your section is contributing additional funds, you can have external review if you still want. So either you don't have to do external review. We'll just award students based on need. Or B, you can let me know, hey, our section wants to do an external review of our travel grants, and we can set that up in the system for you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And it looks like we have a few folks, a few section folks, I think Enrico and Brad. Don't know if you all want to hop into your breakouts, but you can if you like. And we'll start up again in 10 minutes.
Rosa, I better hop off.
All right. Thanks for being here, Billy. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All righty.
Rosa, I wanted to let you know I forgot to update the time in the breakout room.
Mhm.
I'm going to send them a message now to close all the rooms.
Okay. So how much time is left for everyone?
Oh, sorry, it's doing a countdown, not a count up. We're now at 5 minutes. So I'll wait
Okay.
5 minutes and then I'll send the
Then you
message.
let them know. Okay.
Sorry, I thought it was a count up. So I thought we were at 10 minutes now.
No worries. As long as we go get them.
Yes. They should be coming back in about 10 seconds.
Welcome back, everybody. I think we're still. Okay. All right, so thanks for taking part in that. We're gonna do, we may not be able to do 5 minutes for everyone, given that we've got 10 minutes, 9 minutes left in the meeting. But why don't we go around the horn here? I think there were 3 groups. So who was group 1 and who wants to do a reporting out?
I don't recall what number we were. Were we
Okay.
assigned a number?
It was whatever
Sorry.
was
I never look at that. I apologize every time.
no, it's okay.
Yeah,
You know,
Matthew,
but,
I think Matthew, we were room 2, I think.
we were group 2. Okay.
I think, yeah.
but
Okay, thank you.
anyone who wants to report out, go ahead. So Matt, do you want to go?
Sure, if that's okay. I was
Sure.
taking some notes. So just a couple things were mentioned, and this is not in order of importance or anything. It's in the order I wrote them down. We talked about student and faculty travel grants, because remember the prompt was how section supporting participation at AGU 25. Talked about newsletter promotions, using AGU Connects more effectively, as you know, as a section. And then there was quite a bit of talk about more efficient ways to find sessions, to connect the dots between section and there's different sessions, and some talk about AI there. At this point, for this last bit, I'm going to defer to whoever wants to talk about that, because that was between a couple people and I didn't follow all of it. So I'm definitely underselling it.
Well, I put in a chat about that as well. This is John Selker. The notion is that we have this kind of food fight of emails, at least in our section where we have over 160 sessions going on. And people don't have time to filter through the entire AGU session map for finding the most appropriate place for their science. And so just like we use AI to match people with people, it seems that the AI would be very easily applied to looking at people's profiles and their history of publication, and then saying, hey, these sessions might be interesting to you. And then we might try to limit a little bit the kind of broad barrage of emails.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. Did anyone else from that whatever that particular group was, whichever number, want to chime in?
Yeah, this is Krista.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, related to that, I brought up, at least from the standpoint of when you have cross-cutting topics across sections, that's always been challenging for informatics. And how do we identify topics that may be of interest, but they're in a very discipline-focused session that the informatics members may not know about, but it may be very relative or related to their work. And so, yeah, we kind of along the same lines, like how can we use that AI tool that's being developed for helping people figure out where their sessions are and train it in a way that facilitates that cross-section work as well. And I don't know if that would require any additional training of the AI tool to improve that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that could also be added to the prep for the meeting itself. There's all these abstracts all over the thing, and then particularly people who are remote, they can be given all these cool sessions that they might be interested in, or cool talks that they can pop into very efficiently. And and that can be also in person useful, but we miss so many things because we don't have time to filter through everything.
I want to make sure that the other 2 groups get at least a couple of minutes. So thank you, you guys. So who wants to report out from one of the other 2?
Well, I was group 3 and I was dobbed in to report because I was the token male on the call. The Well, you know, this group had you know, a mishmash of contributions to the student grant, some dependent care grants. One section had a $500 flat fee so that it could be spent any way. GPE has allocated 3 postdoc registration waivers by application. I would point out the application process has a bit of a potential barrier to it because it needs to be set up, especially for your section on request. But that seems easy enough. The other sections were giving out complimentary registration in perhaps a more ad hoc way. A couple of them, including GPE, are allocating waivers for some of their early career executive committee reps. There was talk of fundraising, please, because all of this has to be, with the exception of the board designated funds, this is all coming from donations. A couple of sections, including GPE, have companies that regularly donate. It's my impression that flagging these donations as support for early career scientists is helpful in getting them. A question that arose at the end of the breakout was, does anybody have any feeling for what's most useful for people, travel grants or complimentary registration? Registration's got to the point now where it's a significant part of the cost, I guess, but I don't know whether anybody's tried to gather any information on how best to deploy the limited funding we have to help people get to the meeting. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone want to quickly share based on Steve's question before we get to the next group, or how you're managing your funds in that way? I mean, like, this can certainly be a continuing conversation. Oh, go ahead, Kristen.
For the faculty travel grants, it's $1,700 that they could apply. Our initial thought was in any way, but we found it much easier to manage if it went directly to cover registration. And that worked. Most people were happy with that. But there were some people who had other funds that they were also trying to tap into that could only be used for registration, like independently. And so that was the only place where problems came up.
Thanks for that. All right, and I think there was one more group. Anyone want to speak out on what you all spoke about? If you're still here.
I'm the one with my camera on, so I guess I'll go.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, a lot of things consistent with other things reported already, and a lot of emphasis on student travel funding to make sure that people are getting to the meeting, and faculty trying to be cognizant of not using their money for themselves, but making sure that students still get to the meeting. Also some discussion around fundraising and the need to really do that, because the board designated funds are helpful, but only go so far. And I don't think we had any big ideas on fundraising things that we could do, but that's certainly an ongoing need.
Okay. Thanks for that. We are at time, so I want to be respectful of time. And we've got a meeting next month. You all know that I usually reach out and ask for your agenda ideas. These agendas are really built by you all. So please let me know what you want to talk about when I reach out or otherwise. But thanks for all you do. Thanks for all of the leadership and the volunteerism around this. And please continue to reach out with questions and help. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you too.
Thank you.